Mr. Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's useful to have a follow-up opportunity when seeking answers from you, Mr. Secretary. We were together yesterday when I was in Homeland Security, and Mr. Gates's question sort of put a fine point on something for me. I asked you yesterday about Americans who may be subject to crimes committed by the 836,000 that are released into the country and what you'd have to say to them. And we went back and forth because I was having a hard time getting a straight answer, and ultimately you went back to what I hear you say a lot, that they've got the right to assert an asylum claim. But when you hear the real numbers and what Mr. Gates just asked you about, let's get the real numbers. There's 836,000 people released. There's 600,000, give or take, gotaways that Border Patrol knows they weren't able to capture because they're distracted by changing diapers and processing people. And then you've got 1.2 million people subject to an order of deportation who you're not removing. And as you said, undoubtedly, some of those 2.6 million people in the country, by your discretionary choice, will commit crimes. So I want to go back to the question I asked. Do you have anything to say to the American people, the victims of the crimes those people will commit, who are here by your discretion?
Congressman, we do not tolerate the commission of crimes in the United States. We have laws to address those crimes.
Is that what you intend to tell the people who've been subject to the victims, who are the victims of the crimes?
It is. I have worked with victims of crime for more than 12 of my 20 years in government service. And so we do not tolerate the commission of crimes here in the United States against individuals present in the United States. It is not my discretionary choice. It is by operation of law, of the laws that the United States Congress has passed, that individuals who make a claim for asylum have a right to vindicate their
You're not suggesting to this committee, are you, sir, that people who are subject to an order of detention cannot be removed by law? You're not suggesting that to this committee.
That is not what I said at all.
All right. And the people, the rest of the people who you released, not all those people are required to be released, are they? You could detain them.
Congressman, we are funded for a certain number
Your budget request reduces the amount of bed space you request to detain people. Isn't that right?
Yes, our fiscal year 2023 budget requests 25,000 detention beds. And the numbers, as you have readily identified, the number of detention beds over the last many years has not met the number of individuals who are in asylum proceedings. And
so you're reducing the ones you're requesting.
Detention is used, Congressman, detention is used to address the greatest public safety threats. In the criminal justice system, there is also detention is used before a trial reaches a final adjudication. Detention is used for two purposes. Number one, to protect the public safety if there is no condition or combination of conditions that can secure the public safety during the pendency of the criminal proceedings, and two, to ensure the individual's continued appearance in proceedings.
And the rest of the people who are committing crimes, the people who are subject, who suffer the victims of the crimes, are just left on their own. You have no answer for them. Let me ask you a question about security. I've given you a lot of time, Mr. Secretary, to go on. Let me ask you about security. You've said that DHS assesses that domestic violent extremists present the greatest risk to the homeland, and that struck me. I want to ask you this question. Are you including as domestic risk, domestic violent extremist risk, those 2.6 million people who are here by your discretion?
Congressman, my statement is that domestic violent extremism represents the greatest terrorism-related threat to the homeland.
How do you know that none of the 2.6 million, including the 600,000 gotaways, you don't even know who they are, and you know 41 on the terror watch list have been encountered? How do you know those people aren't a source of risk of terrorism?
Congressman, the individuals that we have encountered on the terrorism screening database, the TSDB.
You're not answering my question. Respectful, I've got 22 seconds. I'm going to pose one more question. You know Ramzi Youssef claimed asylum, right? And you know that he got to be released into the country on an assertion of credible fear. He was released, and 6 months later, he bombed the World Trade Center. Among the 600,000 gotaways, just that small portion, Mr. Secretary, how do you know that are you waiting for a mushroom cloud?
The time of the gentleman has expired. The witness may answer the question.
Mr. Chairman, I won't dignify that last question with a response.
The time of the gentleman has expired. Mr. Cicilline.